Capitalism. There are companies out there and corporations, and what they're doing is looking for trends. They're constantly trying to tell the future. When they see the way things are going after all the different research they do, and they can come up with these different graphs and charts and all this information, once they see the trends, whatever's coming over the next 10 years, then they can start developing the products that they know that the public is going to be looking for or needing over that next 10 years. Now, this is just a basic element of capitalism. So keeping that in mind, it may come as a shock to some of you out there, and many of us already saw this coming. But right now there's a lot of companies getting involved in research for RFID technology. They obviously sense something in the air, and I think a lot of them know that we're heading towards a cashless society. Check this out. You can see proof of this all around you. There's always some new technology coming out, and it's interesting the way they slowly bleed it into the public. They make it popular. Lollapalooza, huge concert event, right? Well, this is a great example as well. And of course, we shouldn't be surprised that Disney's involved as well. And it's interesting because it turns out that a lot of these festivals coming out that many of us do research on, we find a lot of so-called Illuminati symbolism or New Age symbolism, this Antichrist system type symbolism. A lot of these events are also going to an RFID technology as well. Check it out. So keeping all of this in mind and understanding there's a lot of companies out there right now that are really researching RFID and already releasing a lot of things to the public. I want to show you a really creepy commercial from a real company and something that they've developed. I'll let it play out, but I thought it was really interesting because even in this commercial for this RFID technology that many of us believe is going to ultimately lead to what's called the mark of the beast in the Bible. Now, however that's going to play out, I don't know, but this is definitely a theory that's out there, and it's something to keep an eye on. That whole transhumanism agenda is tied in with this stuff as well. So the point is that someday we may actually have to face this choice. Do you take the mark or not? Do you take the chip or not? And I thought it was interesting, again, when dealing with this subject, this technology that could ultimately lead to the mark of the beast. In this commercial we find the Illuminati pyramid, or at least pyramids. And the confirmation of that is you'll find another symbol near the end of the commercial, and I'll just let you check that out. And away we go. Thanks for watching.
How would you like to have an RFID microchip implanted underneath your skin? Or maybe an electronic tattoo that sticks to your arm or your wrist? Not only does it look badass and trendy, but it's also every bit as useful and complex as your smartphone. Now, I know it sounds like something futuristic or even something out of a science fiction movie, but guess what? The future is now. And not only does this technology already exist, but it's already being developed and implemented at a rapid and accelerated pace as the technological elite finally begin to bridge the gap between our digital and physical identities.
And he provides that no one will be able to buy or to sell except the one that has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for the number is that of a man, and his number is 666.
So how close are we to actually having microchips implanted under our skin? Well, according to the NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams, we might be a lot closer than you think.
More now of our special coverage here tonight, life in the U.S. in 10 years' time.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
In medical news tonight, a chip the size of a grain of rice could save your life.
I've just been chipped myself. It's not a painless process, but it doesn't last too long, not too difficult. Minor surgical procedure.
New microchip technology now makes it possible for the emergency room staff to find out about your medical history at the touch of a computer key.
At some point, we're all going to have RFIDs. It might be even in our fingers, where they require it with everything on it.
Instead of carrying credit cards or money, we will probably be implanted with chips.
And now RFID microchips like this are being injected into humans.
I'm sorry, sir, did you just say you would get one implanted in your arm?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Our driver's license will be on the RFID chip. Our credit card number, all our information will be on this one chip.
The chip is encased in unbreakable glass and is about the size of a grain of rice. The procedure is done with anesthesia and is relatively pain-free.
It felt pretty scary, but at the same time it felt very modern, very 2015.
The government has just approved the use of a computer chip that would be implanted under your skin.
When complete, everyone will have a unique 12-digit identity number.
If hospitals purchase this detection equipment, the system will most likely start to include more and more people in those communities who will want the chips.
Wow.
Interesting stuff.
Everybody could have one of those one day.
Does Google now know everything I do and everywhere I go? Because, let's face it, we like you guys, but you're from Google.
It may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents.
Forget mobile phones. Your children and grandchildren may well want an implant instead.
You know, when we check out at the grocery store, we'll be swiping our own arm over the scanner. And that will be something we feel we can't live without.
It would be such a disadvantage to not have the implant that it essentially becomes not optional.
Let's imagine a little bit what the future might look like if I could take your stem cells and put them on a chip, or your stem cells and put them on a chip. It would be a personalized chip just for you.
Turns over, but it doesn't stop. But the RFID reader antenna is here. So when I authenticate, the bike powers up. That's it.
Imagine if some of these machines could be made so thin, light, and portable that they could be attached right to the surface of your skin. and go wherever you go.
There's some very sophisticated device functionality sitting on my skin.
Welcome to the future, specifically the checkpoint of the future.
It is envisaged that the passenger will be able to flow through the security checkpoint without interruption.
This is what IATA, which is the airline industry trade body, is hoping will become commonplace around the world. A sort of one-stop shop for security from the curb to the gate, as they say, with dignity.
Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over.
Mark my words, huh? More like the mark of the beast.
Even though it is called a tattoo, there is no need to pierce or puncture the skin. Instead, the device sticks on.
So what we can do then is we can take this device, laminate it on the skin.
It occurs to me I've got them in my dogs. Why wouldn't I have them in small children too?
There are also several products available to keep track of children. Many of them act as emergency cell phones and tracking devices, with some even able to display on a map the places your child has visited.
They told you we're giving you a nano tracker chip?
Yes.
To think something so small can connect you to everything that matters.
Because I'm in love with my kids' kids.
Because my car lost control while driving.
Because now I'm looking out for both of us.
Because I have diabetes, but it doesn't have me.
Because I spend my life in the ER trying to save yours.
And we are now joined by Brandon Gallups from the Freedom Friday radio show. And Brandon, you are a Christian and a biblical scholar. And I wanted to get your take on all this. We see this emerging technology that's on the rise right now. Do you think we are seeing the beginnings of the mark of the beast?
Darren, yes, as you said, brother, I am a Christian unashamedly, and I base my life and my views of the world on a biblical worldview. I compare everything against Scripture. And, you know, I'm not one to dogmatically say that absolutely the mark of the beast has arrived on the scene. But with the technologies that we're seeing, the RFID, people willingly getting implanted, and a push even in some places for maybe some forced implants very soon, I do think that that is right around the corner, brother. We could very well be on the horizon of that.
Well, see, what's kind of scary to me is we're starting to see a trend, and it's a familiar trend. And that is these executives from these technical corporate giants, if you will, the revolving door, once again, between these high-tech executives and positions in the federal government. For example, Tommy Thompson, he is the former Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he is now on the board with Verichip Corporation. And he is out there actively lobbying for the microchip implant.
I'm sorry, sir. Did you just say you would get one implanted in your arm?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay.
Tommy Thompson, former Health and Human Services Secretary. Scott Silverman, Chairman and CEO of Applied Digital. Don't forget to vote in our Squawk Back question. Would you implant or have implanted an RFID chip? They slide it under your skin of your arm. You don't even know it's there.
Then there's the former director of DARPA, who is now a Google executive. Her name is Regina Dugan, and I tell you what, she's about as creepy as it gets. She's out there promoting smart tattoos and ingestible biochips that are already approved by the FDA, by the way. And she's telling a very young audience that this technology will give you superpowers. What do you think, Brandon? Do you think that an RFID chip will give you superpowers?
Well, it certainly may at some point give you the power to buy and sell,
Yeah.
but I don't think that it will give you superpowers. Absolutely not. And you know, Darren, when we compare this to Scripture and we look and see, you know, particularly Revelation 13, talking about that the whole world will have this system, and that you will have to have it to be able to buy and sell. This system, this RFID system, is the first technology that we have seen that provides that ability. Now, again, I'm not saying dogmatically this is that, but it certainly has the ability to become that very quickly.
Not only that, but they're already planning. I know the United States and Europe, they've already got it in the works where you're not going to be able to travel unless you have some kind of biometric ID. And what do you think about that? I mean, what they're saying, and we're going to show here in a second, where a CNN reporter, he says that you'll finally be able to travel with dignity.
Welcome to the future, specifically the checkpoint of the future. This is what IATA, which is the airline industry trade body, is hoping will become commonplace around the world. A sort of one-stop shop for security from the curb to the gate, as they say, with dignity.
It is envisaged that the passenger will be able to flow through the security checkpoint without interruption, unless the advanced technology identifies a potential threat. There is expected to be little or no wait time as a result of the enhanced speed at which screening can occur.
So there you have it, basically a system which, if IATA has it right, will mean that passengers go from the curb to the gate in their language with dignity, without having to stop, without having to unpack, without having to strip, without having to be worried about being groped.
Now, do you think it's going to be dignified to have an implantable RFID chip?
No, absolutely not. It certainly won't be dignified, and I won't be traveling. But think about this also, Darren, when we go back to Scripture and it talks about it by their right hand or on their foreheads. You know, obviously John, who saw this vision, lived over 2,000 years ago, and he was using the best language he had to describe what he was being shown.
Sure.
So, listen, the forehead, the biometric ID, that could be as simple as a retina scan. And we're already seeing these technologies being mandated in, of all places, Israel, which I think is very interesting.
Well, and they're also, you know, they're subjecting children to this. I've got an article right here from the Associated Press, right, where it's talking about tracking school children through the Head Start program. They even have kids as young as preschool where they stitch RFID tracking devices in their jerseys, which are required. These kids are required to wear these so they could track their every move. Meanwhile, in the UK, RFID chips are used to track children everywhere they go all day long. So picture this. You have Tommy, young Tommy, he's about 11 years old. When he gets out of school, he gets on the bus, they have him wearing an electronic bracelet, right? It kicks off a sensor that's on the bus, notifies his parents through their cell phone. They get a cell phone message, Tommy is safely on the bus. When he gets off the bus, it notifies him that he's gotten off the bus. And then even when he enters the house, they are notified. So I think it's going to end up, if these kids are raised like this, it's going to be an easy transition for them when they're finally told, listen, the bracelet comes off, now you get the RFID chip implant. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you are 100% correct, Darren, because just think about this. Everything that we see that we now realize is evil, going back, the Patriot Act, all of the NSA spying and everything. Listen, that was sold to us as we need this for safety. And of course, why not appeal to our emotions about the most precious thing on earth to us, our children? Listen, we can put this in your children and you never have to worry about your child going missing or being abducted. We will always know where they are. We can always find them. When in fact, it may very well be that this is the most evil technology we have ever seen, but it will be sold to us, just like you're saying, in the name of safety. We're already seeing that.
Well, technology is definitely a double-edged sword because I could see there's a lot of advantages. Yeah, I would like to know where my children are and that sort of thing. And if they're ever to get lost, it would be nice to be able to track them. So they're definitely going to sell it that way. Well, I tell you what, if you think the federal government is not going to utilize this technology to track its own citizens, think again. Here's Attorney General Eric Holder talking about a conversation he had with Vice President Joe Biden about mandatory electronic bracelets for gun owners.
Vice President Biden and I had a meeting with a group of technology people and talked about how guns can be made more safe by making them either through fingerprint identification, the gun talks to a bracelet or something that you might wear, how guns can be used only by the person who is lawfully in possession of the weapon.
And here's another very alarming clip from then Senator Joe Biden before he became vice president, and this was during the confirmation hearings for Supreme Court Justice John Roberts. Biden tells Roberts that he will have to rule on implantable microchips during his tenure.
And we'll be faced with equally consequential decisions in the 21st century. Can a microscopic tag be implanted in a person's body to track his every movement? There's actual discussion about that. You will rule on that, mark my words, before your tenure is over. Can brain scans be used to determine whether a person is inclined toward criminality or violent behavior? You will rule on that.
So even from a Christian perspective, obviously, we wouldn't want to get the mark because, well, according to the Bible, your eternity depends on whether you take the mark or not. But also, I would imagine it would be an Orwellian nightmare as well. We're talking about a dystopian future, but an Orwellian future where Big Brother and the government monitors every single thing you do. Do you think that that's something that we should be concerned about?
No, I definitely do, because you have to think, I mean, just common sense would tell us that when this time comes, when we see something mandated where they are trying to mark every person in the whole world, whether that be for tracking or for buying or selling or whatever it is, it's not just going to be Christians, people like myself who are familiar with the word, that say, wait a minute, we know what this is. There's going to be people out there who just common sense, who may give no regard to the Bible at all, that say, this is crazy. There's no way I'm going to participate in this. So yeah, absolutely. I think that we'll see both. And you know, the scripture is very clear that Christians are going to be submitted to this at some point. We are going to have to make this decision.
Well, absolutely right. And I just want to do me a favor. If you talk to your father, who's the host of the radio show, and tell people where they could listen to you, where they can find the broadcast if they're not in Florida. How do they access the radio show? And I also want to tell people these two books right here, fantastic reads if you're interested in the book of Revelations and biblical prophecy. Right here, Final Warning by Carl Gallups. I definitely recommend these books. How do people find your radio show on the internet?
Thank you, Darren. It's we broadcast live out of 1330 a.m. in Milton, Florida. You can find us on the TuneIn Radio app. Just search 1330 WEBY. And all of our podcasts are available for free at carlgallups.com. That's carlgallups.com. Just click the podcast link, and you can find all of our material at www.ppsimmons.com.
All right. Brandon Gallups, thank you for joining us. I have a feeling that you'll be with us again sometime in the near future. Thanks again.
There was an interview from Aaron Russo to have claims to have spoke with Nick Rockefeller about the RFID technology being implemented by the Rockefeller's own admission. And this is a report about what happened from Aaron Russo's own testimony.
I had a friend, Nick Rockefeller, okay, who was one of the Rockefeller family, and he, when I was running for governor in Nevada, he came to me, introduced himself to me through an attorney, and we became friends. We started talking about things, and I learned an awful lot from Mr. Rockefeller. And one of the things that we used to talk about was the ultimate plan of the banking industry, what they wanted to accomplish. And the goals of the banking industry, and not just the Federal Reserve System, but the private banks in Germany and England, all over Italy, all over the world, they all work together. So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one-world government run by the banking industry. And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, you can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do.
Everything. Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one-world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
Part of the new world, and you are part of the old.
Very near future, there's going to be so many positive reasons why you should get a microchip implant that those of us who refuse to get a microchip implant will be the absolute outcasts.
We can upload his consciousness. We can save him.
Not like this.
Oh my God. I can't feel it.
Maybe intelligent, may even be sentient. This is not well.
Shut it down.
Shut it down! It's him! Your friends crossed the line. They don't know the danger.
This is astounding.
So how do we fight it?
Get gone.
Where are you going?
Everywhere.
God made man in his own image. God intended for man to become one with God. We are going to become one with God. Cloning and the reprogramming of DNA is the first serious step in becoming one with God.
This issue is going to dominate our global politics this century. This is the issue that will color the century as we merge with machines. And I think it's inevitable that we will. We will transform into something new.
Evolution is a spiritual process. It moves us closer to the ideal of God. I mean, what is God? God is described as being unlimited in intelligence, creativity, love, beauty.
We humans are going to start linking with each other and become this meta-intelligence. And we will eventually become an interconnection of the entire human race. And we will become godlike. Once you plug into that global network, and you know the thoughts and feelings of millions or billions of people, to unplug yourself can be so lonely.
At this moment in our civilization, we can create cybernetic individuals who, in just a few short years, will be completely indistinguishable from us. Which leads to an obvious conclusion. We are the gods now.
There are a lot of secrets down here in the dark. I make intelligent machines. machine. Open your eyes. It's incredible. It's conscious.
We've made a lot of advances in wearables, but there's still some fundamental problems that we haven't solved. Like one of them is the mechanical mismatch between humans and electronics, right? So electronics are boxy and rigid, humans are curvy and soft. That's a mechanical mismatch problem. Well, a researcher at the University of Illinois, his name is Dr. Rogers, what he discovered is that he could use standard CMOS techniques to make islands of high-performance silicon connected by accordion-like structures that would allow it to stretch up to 200% and still be performing. And what he did is he founded a company and they started making electronic tattoos. So I'm wearing one here on my arm.
Do we have a camera to get a...
This is a developmental system made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication. Now, it may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents. Right?
And that can have a design, right? Because they would certainly want some kind of cool design.
Options,
right?
options. And that's something that you wear, but you could also imagine including authentication in just your daily habits. So I take a vitamin every morning. What if I could take vitamin authentication?
What?
Vitamin authentication. Look, I have one right here. Well, here, I'll let you hold it. Would you like to hold it?
I'll hold it.
Okay. So this...
You guys see it?
This pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch. It also has what amounts to an inside-out potato battery. When you swallow it, the acids in your stomach serve as the electrolyte,
That's what I do.
and they power it up, and the switch goes on and off. And it creates an 18-bit ECG-like signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes your authentication token. Yes, this is true. Okay?
Okay, but...
Okay, so wait. So it's really true. So what this means is that becomes my first superpower. I really want this superpower. It means that my arms are like wires, my hands are like alligator clips. When I touch my phone, my computer, my door, my car, I'm authenticated in. First superpower. Like. This is not science fiction. This pill was actually made by a company called Proteus, and they've developed it for medical applications. That pill has been CE stamped and cleared by the FDA. You can take 30 of those per day for the rest of your life.
And then what happens? Does your heart beat change? Does your...
We can just tell that you've taken the pill. I mean, the medical
Does
application...
Google now know everything I do and everywhere I go? Because, let's face it, we like you guys, but you're from Google.
I found software that intrigues me. It appears it's an agent of good. GE has wired their medical hardware with innovative software to be in many places at the same time. Using data to connect patients to software, to nurses, to the right people and machines. Helping hospitals treat people even better while dramatically reducing waiting time. Now a waiting room is just a room.
The technology that we're talking about is called radio frequency identification. This is a standard technology that's been in use for several years now in corporate or office kind of environments. And what we're doing is we're applying it to an automotive environment. Traditionally, it's used as an unlocking device, so you can access a door or whatnot in an office. We're using it for that purpose as an unlocking device, but we're also using it to start the vehicle. So by doing this, what we can do is we start the vehicle, it unlocks the door so I can enter the vehicle. I can at that point close the door, put it in gear, and drive away. Right now I have an RFID chip surgically implanted in my left hand. It allows me to do all the same functions that the car does, but with my hand.
So what you're telling me is you just started your car, not only without a key, but you started it with your bare hand.
Yeah.
You started it with your bare hand.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Forgot your receipt.
Checkout lines. Who needs them?
Have a nice day.
This is the future of e-business.
To think something so small can connect you
To everything that matters.
When your life and all you love
are on the line.
HealthLink is always with you when every second counts in the emergency room, providing immediate access to your medical records.
Welcome to the future. Specifically, the checkpoint of the future will become commonplace around the world. A sort of one-stop shop for security from the curb to the gate, as they say, with dignity. So, how does it work? Let's now ask Ken Dunlap. Hello, Ken.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. You're head of security at IATA. Walk us through this.
I want to show you the revolution.
Okay.
The first thing you need to do is identify yourself to our system.
Passport in here. It says it's normal. I'm a normal person.
And that's the result of passenger pre-screening that's been done by your government. And it's also the result of a known traveler program that your government may choose to implement within your country. And we have a smart system.
Through the normal channel. Okay. What do I do now?
And we're asking you to identify yourself one last time so you don't sneak into the tunnel you don't belong into.
Passport in there. Iris scan. This says everything's okay. I'm still good.
You're fine, and you're clear to walk through the tunnel and receive your security scanning.
So walking through the tunnel, security scanning. I've got X-ray, metal detector, liquid detector, shoe scanner, and explosive trace.
You're not going to have a security screener meet you and start patting down your person, and perhaps violating your privacy or doing something that you would prefer not to have.
Okay, so let's assume I've gone through everything there clean. I can now board my flight, is that right?
You can board your flight. We want you to keep your stride. We don't want you to stop. And in fact, we don't even want you to know that you're being security screened.
Sounds fantastic, obviously. How realistic is it? When can we see anything like this?
Well, this is science fact and it's not science fiction.
So there you have it, basically a system which, if IATA has it right, will mean that passengers go from the curb to the gate in their language, with dignity, without having to stop, without having to unpack, without having to strip, without having to be worried about being raped.
You know what I heard? I heard that they're putting the microchip in people next year.
On the arm?
And that's what this is for.
Oh, on the arm?
That's what I heard.
So more like the 666, 666, 666.
Uh-huh.
No more money, loose change, or even swiping a card to pay for lunch. Now all kids in Bossier Parish will need is to wave their hand. KSLA News 12's Sasha Jones is in the Alert Center. She has the very latest on this new technology and what it means for students. Sasha.
Dominique school board leaders say this new technology will make it faster, safer, and easier for kids to pay for lunch. Parents, however, are not easily convinced. Some parents say the system is an invasion of their kids' privacy. In less than 5 seconds, Bossier students will slide right through the lunch line.
Sometimes they say they don't have much time at all. Sometimes they get 10, 15 minutes.
But this new technology promises to fix this. Apollo Elementary parent Long Win says lunchtime is also crunch time for his 2 kids. He says students are racing against the clock to move through the line and eat with speed. But soon all Bossier Parish school cafeterias will have a palm scanner.
And there's no risk of personal information being shared.
The scanner uses infrared laser to map out each student's vein coordinates and stores the data. The scan will help move the line faster and get some students at tables quicker. Today in training, Bossier cafeteria workers and I learned just how fast it really is.
Come and scan their hand.
Over here at Yahoo News, interesting article of microchips that will be implanted into healthy people sooner than you think. Can you say mark of the beast? Many of you know it's a biblical warning, but you know other people out here just see past it. They're going for the benefits of it, being able to swipe their hand and open doors, open their cars, unlock their phones and their cell phones and stuff, and pull off stuff that other people can't. And other people are seeing this and they want to do it too, because it's now becoming like the cool thing to do. Now what happened in 2009 is a guy injected himself with a chip, marked gas, under the skin. Now he in turn infected his chip with a virus. And everywhere he went that had a reader to pick up on this device, he was passing along that virus. He was spreading the virus from the chip in his hand into other electronic devices. Can you believe that? This is what this guy was doing. Computers at work, people's phones, all kinds of other things, anything that was picking up this device, he was infecting.
Like one of them is the mechanical mismatch between humans and electronics, right? So electronics are boxy and rigid, humans are curvy and soft. That's a mechanical mismatch problem. Well, a researcher at the University of Illinois, his name is Dr. Rogers, what he discovered is that he could use standard CMOS techniques to make islands of high-performance silicon connected by accordion-like structures that would allow it to stretch up to 200% and still be performing. And what he did is he founded a company and they started making electronic tattoos. So I'm wearing one here on my arm.
Do we have a camera to get a...
This is a developmental system made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication. Now, it may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents. Right?
And that can have a design, right?
Sure.
They would certainly want some kind of cool design.
Options. And that's something that you wear, but you could also imagine including authentication in just your daily habits. So I take a vitamin every morning. What if I could take vitamin authentication?
What?
Vitamin authentication. Look, I have one right here. Well, here, I'll let you hold it. Would you like to hold it?
I'll hold it.
Okay. So, this...
You guys see it?
This pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch. It also has what amounts to an inside-out potato battery. When you swallow it, the acids in your stomach serve as the electrolyte, and they power it up, and the switch goes on and off. And it creates an 18-bit ECG-like signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes your authentication token. Yes, this is true.
Okay, but...
Okay, so wait. So it's really true. So what this means is that becomes my first superpower. I really want this superpower. It means that my arms are like wires, my hands are like alligator clips. When I touch my phone, my computer, my door, my car, I'm authenticated in. First superpower. Like, I want that.
So we're not shipping that right away.
Yeah, no. We're not shipping that right away. But it sounds like...
this is FDA cleared?
So here's the thing. This is not science fiction. This pill was actually made by a company called Proteus, and they've developed it for medical applications. That pill has been CE stamped and cleared by the FDA. You can take 30 of those per day for the rest of your life.
And then what happens? Does your heart beat change? Does your...
We can just tell that you've taken the pill.
In the last 40 years, we have not changed how we unlock our devices, even though their usage has significantly increased. An average user unlocks their phone 39 times a day, and it takes them 2.3 seconds every time they do so. It is so cumbersome that more than 50% of users do not lock their phones, exposing their personal data to theft. So we started working on making it easier for people to unlock their phones. Your phone is personal to you, so how you access it should be personalized to your style. Last year, we launched Skip, a wearable clip to unlock your Moto X. Now we are excited about a new wearable. It's a digital tattoo from VivaLink.
We worked with Motorola to make a digital tattoo. It's easy to put on and lasts for 5 days. Whether you take a shower or exercise, you don't have to worry about it. It goes where you go. We combine materials from flexible electronics industry with the leading edge of RF engineering to make the ultra-thin digital tattoo that is so comfortable that you barely notice. We also work very closely with the top designers in the world, including Ideal, to make a tattoo that looks beautiful and is easy to use. No fumbling, no typing, just tap.
Microchip to be. The CSIRO is using them to track the insect's movements. The devices are tiny and they are all around you in their billions. Chances are you're carrying a couple of RFID microchips now, and if you are, they're sending out a 15-digit number that identifies you. That number can be picked up by what's called an ISO compliant scanner, and they're everywhere too. The chips are embedded in credit cards, Mikey cards, and the swipe cards that let people into their office buildings. They're used to track manufactured goods in factories and stores, identify livestock and lost pets. And now RFID microchips like this are being injected into humans. Dr. Mark Gasson of the University of Reading in England was injected with one in 2009 to control electronic devices in his office. He later became the first human in history to be infected with a computer virus.
When the systems read my tags, the computer virus has actually appeared throughout the whole database. So it's actually replicated itself and copied it throughout the database.
The microchip implants are coated with a biocompatible material that enables them to bond with the surrounding flesh and sinew. That keeps them in place, but makes their surgical removal difficult and painful. Companies in America have marketed human microchips for security or medical purposes, but most microchipped humans are amateurs who have injected themselves, or who have convinced their family doctor to do it for them. They call themselves biohackers, and they use the chips to open doors or unlock their cars, phones and computers with a simple wave of their hand. Some biohackers go even further by also injecting themselves with self-made devices that enable them to pick up electromagnetic waves.
I want to see if I can't make the human evolve faster than what nature has allowed it to be.
Science is now challenging the very idea of what it means to be human. British cybernetics professor Kevin Warwick has an electronic device in his body that interfaces with his nervous system and is now working on implants that will enable humans to communicate just by thinking.
It will be brain to brain. That's the next step. That's what I'm working on now. Thought communication.
Having an electronic implant might seem too painful or weird to even contemplate, but scientists like Warwick and Gasson say that view will change dramatically. Forget mobile phones, your children and grandchildren may well want an implant instead.
It's not possible to interact in society in a meaningful way by not having a mobile phone. I think human implants are likely to go along a very similar route. It would be such a disadvantage to not have the implant that it essentially becomes not optional.
For overcoming less than desirable situations, mind over matter. And for 23-year-old quadriplegic Ian Burkhart, that's exactly what had to be done. Burkhart became paralyzed after a 2010 diving accident, but now Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center has just had a breakthrough discovery that may help many quadriplegics across the globe. They were able to get Ian Burkhart to move his hand with the power of thought. Doctors, neuroscientists, and engineers from Battelle were able to implement cutting-edge technology by installing a chip directly into Ian's brain.
Installing a chip directly into Ian's brain.
Dr. Ali Reze installed the chip in the area of the brain that controls the movement of the hand. Engineers at Battelle developed software, algorithms, and a sleeve which transmits thoughts and neurons from the brain directly into the arm in less than a tenth of a second. The signals are then taken from the chip and bypass the injury in the spinal cord, linking the signals directly to the muscles in the arm. Other technologies used in the past have been robotics, exoskeletons, or computers to move muscles, but this is the first using just the power of thought.
Just the power of thought.
Pretty cool.
Jones, KSLA News 12.
And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
I've said it before, I will say it again. We can't balance the budget on the backs of the very people who have borne the biggest brunt of this recession. Everyone's going to have to chip in. Everyone's going to have to chip in.
First superpower, like I want that.
But, you know, the whole move of these implants, there are a couple of stupid companies like the Verichip Corporation, with all its various names, that come out and say, oh, well, we want to sell this as a product. I don't think it's going to happen that way. People don't want an ID microchip. But if you turn around and instead say, you'll be able to listen to music and access Facebook and you know, get your email through this little implant, you're going to have a stampede of people wanting to do it. Because